Are you trying to obtain unemployability from the VA, but you're struggling to fill out VA Form 8940? Maybe you have filled out the form, but the VA rejected it. Welcome to VA Made Easy. I'm VA accredited attorney and U.S. Army combat veteran Ed Farmer. Today we're going to discuss VA Form 21-8940, what it is, when you file it, and how to avoid certain pitfalls with the form. If you've been denied your claim, visit me at vetlawoffice.com. We not only provide zealous advocacy on your appeal, we have the ability to provide you with medical nexus opinions. We prep you before your exams, and we have investigators to help you obtain those buddy statements. There's no fee unless we win your case. Contact me at vetlawoffice.com, but for now, let's get into it. All right, before we get into the actual form, let's do a recap about what unemployability, or TDIU, as some people refer to it as, what it actually is. I've done videos in the past on this that go in more depth, so go ahead and check those videos out. But essentially what unemployability is, it pays you at the 100% rate if you're unable to maintain substantial gainful employment due to your service-connected disabilities. There are certain requirements to become eligible for unemployability. If you have one disability, that one disability needs to be rated at 60%. If you have multiple disabilities, they need to combine to 70% with one rated at least 40%. All right, so to apply for unemployability, the VA typically wants you to fill out the VA Form 21-8940. In the past, I've spoken about how unemployability is an inferred claim. And that means if there's evidence that you're unemployable in the file, the VA is supposed to take it upon themselves to start that claim for you. For example, if you're asking for an increase in your PTSD claim and the CMP examiner puts a note in your exam saying, I don't think this guy is going to be capable of working due to his PTSD symptoms, the VA is supposed to, at that point, begin adjudicating an unemployability claim for you without filing that form. However, this almost never happens, and they almost always ask you to complete the form anyways. So your best bet is just complete it. So when should you file the 8940? Well, some people say you shouldn't file for it until you meet those initial percentage requirements that I just talked about earlier in the video. The combined 70% with one at 40 or one disability at 60%. I disagree with that advice. My advice is if you know you're going after unemployability, if you know you can't work due to your service-connected disabilities, file that form as soon as possible. That will preserve your earliest possible effective date. There is no harm in filing it early, but there could be repercussions in that effective date if you file it late. All right, let's get into the form itself. This is one of the most complicated VA forms. Even advocates struggle completing it. Let's go over some of the biggest areas of concern which are on the VA Form 21-8940. The first potential pitfall of VA Form 21-8940 is Box 8. Box 8 asks you what service-connected disabilities are preventing you from maintaining substantial gainful employment. So what disabilities are preventing you from working? My advice is to put in this box all service-connected disabilities, and that's because most of the time, all your service-connected disabilities are contributing to your unemployability. The combined effects or aggregate effects of your service-connected disabilities are rendering you unemployable. Now, the VA sometimes takes issues when you put all service-connected disabilities. They want you to actually list which ones you believe are contributing to your unemployability. I would respond by saying, the combined effects of all my service-connected disabilities are rendering me unemployable, and then list out each one you are service-connected for. Now, keep in mind, when you file for unemployability, the VA is going to re-examine every one of those conditions. So if for some reason there's a condition on there you don't want re-examined and it's not contributing to your unemployability, feel free to leave it off. But generally, my advice would be put all service-connected disabilities in Box 8. All right, the next pitfalls you have to be aware of on VA Form 21-8940 are boxes 14 through 16. These questions are very vague and it's sometimes difficult to understand what the VA is actually asking here. Box 14 asks the date your disability affected your full-time employment. Think of the question this way. When did your service-connected disabilities begin affecting your work performance? When did you start getting written up at work? When did you have to start taking several days off of work to go to doctor's appointments or calling off work because you couldn't go in due to your service-connected disabilities? You don't have to pinpoint an exact date here. Just a month and a year would be fine. Next, box 15 asks the date you last worked full-time. This date is generally the date where maybe you transitioned from full-time employment to part-time employment, or the date you stopped working altogether. Again, just a month and a year should be sufficient here. Box 16 is very similar. This is the date you completely stop working. It differs from box 15 in that some people go from full-time to part-time before they stop working, but many people go from full-time to no work at all. So box 16 should be the date you completely stop working. All right, let's go to box 18. It's more of a whole page of the form than just a box. And this part really trips up veterans. This is the section where the VA most frequently says the form is incomplete and they send it back to the veteran to do again. I feel like it's an issue with the way the VA is asking the information. It is confusing. So they want to know the information for your employers for the last 5 years you worked. So this isn't the last 5 years. This is the last 5 years you worked. So if you haven't worked since 2015, you need to put your employers that you worked for from 2010 to 2015. I get a lot of veterans saying, well, I haven't worked in 5 years. That's okay. But the last 5 years you did work on the form. If you don't substantially complete box 8, unfortunately, the VA may deny your unemployability claim just for that reason. So just make sure you have some accurate information in here. All right, the last section of VA Form 8940 you have to be aware of is box 26, and this is the remarks section. In my opinion, this is probably the most important section of 8940, and I would not fill out the remarks section with anything but saying, see my attached statement. And then you're going to write a statement discussing how your service-connected disabilities prevent you from being employable. Discuss your educational history. Discuss your occupational limitations. Maybe you can't sit in a chair for more than 5 minutes. Maybe you can't stand for more than 5 minutes. You want to discuss not only physical limitations, but also mental limitations as well. Maybe you have difficulties getting along with others. The more detail in your statement, the better off you're going to be. And remember, limit your discussion to service-connected disabilities, as the VA cannot consider non-service-connected disabilities and whether or not they render you unemployable. TDIU can be tricky to win. It's often denied. If you get denied, get help from a VA accredited attorney. Visit me at vetlawoffice.com if you need a free consultation. In the meantime, keep liking, keep sharing, keep subscribing, and as always, you have the power to change your VA claim.